I've been looking at the WWE 2K22 Season Pass, the 5 DLC packs that we're supposed to be getting this year. And as I went through the list and reviewed it a little bit more, I started to really wonder, is it worth it for players to pick up? Let's talk about the Season Pass today on the show. Hey everybody, welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Great to have you on the show today. It is about the Season Pass for 2K22. Is it worth it? 28 superstars or characters are going to be in this pack, from LA Knight, Dewdrop, Amos, to Umaga, and Logan Paul, and so on. And almost every single month, we're gonna get a DLC drop. The first one's coming out April 26th. And the DLCs go all the way with the whole damn pack being the final one, being released on July 19th. I feel like off the bat, it's a mixed bag. And I don't feel like with the past DLCs and season passes that we've had with the 2K games, that they've really ever nailed it. It's always been kind of so-so. And I don't know if this year is any different. But I need all of you to let me know in the comments below if you feel the Season Pass for 2K22 is worth it to you. Some of the stars in here I feel like are great standouts, but others I'm not too sure, and I feel like they could have been used and the resources could have been used for other superstars to be in there. For me, some of the standouts that I am really excited to get my hands on are Amos, Umaga, Cactus Jack, Hurricane Helms, Stacy Keibler, Dewdrop, Rob Van Dam, and even Ronda Rousey. And I know for some situations, it's contracts, right? The Ronda Rousey one, they weren't sure if Ronda Rousey, according to all the reports, that if she was going to be working with WWE in the future. But based on the timelines of when the game was in development, I really think they could have just put Ronda in the game. I don't think that she needed to be a bonus DLC, and I feel like spots like that are taking up space where we could have had other superstars make the cut. And I understand from 2K's perspective that looking at season passes, DLC content, they probably want to look at it and say, we want a healthy balance of legends and current stars to appeal to a wide audience, right? To make sure that we're covering kind of everybody. And once again, it's difficult when it comes to contracts, who they can get the license for, who could be a legend that could be in the game that's not already in there. But I don't feel like some of them should have even been DLC. British Bulldog is in there as DLC, Vader, Cactus Jack is DLC, even Commander Aziz and Xia Li are DLC. And I feel like I kind of like look at that and think those really should have just been in the video game. And maybe given more space to other arenas, maybe build the DLC up even more with more specific attires for different pay-per-views and different shows. And on top of it, more stars. A lot of the NXT superstars as well. The Season Pass alone, the standalone Season Pass, if you're going to pick it up, it's gonna cost you $39.99 US. On the Canadian side of things, where Matt lives, it's $49.99. It's a hefty price tag for a season pass of 28 superstars and nothing else, and no reports of anything down in the future being planned out for any additional content. I am happy to see some stars like Dragunov and Hartwell and Rick Boogs, and I'll say even Logan Paul making it into the game. The DLC speaks to different audiences, different fans, right? And it allows for community creations for people to be able to put in a ton of different attires, to be able to customize a lot more, and that part is an exciting piece. I like the idea of getting Cactus Jack in there so that we can get proper Mick Foley's, Mankind's, and the community can go crazy with it with the updates. We can get Logan Paul in the game, which will have probably the year prior's attire, not his WrestleMania 38 attire in the game. But we know that the community creators are going to go out there and they're going to do a bang up job of giving us the Logan Paul WrestleMania 38 attire. Even Stacy Keibler or Rob Van Dam, putting them in multiple different attires. So that stuff is really, really cool. That's a win and that's a plus. I think one of the big misses with the Season Pass is the lack of focus on NXT. And I know that's a very tricky thing for WWE and for 2K themselves because of the timing of everything. NXT, the new NXT 2.0, has only been a thing now for less than a year. So I understand that the likes of Braun Breaker being in the game, it's a hard thing to accomplish. However, if they really want to make a push for it and really make a big splash for fans, I personally feel like we could have had a little bit more emphasis and a little bit more effort put into trying to get the NXT stars, the NXT 2.0 stars in the game. And I'm not talking a lot here. I'm talking about Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Toxic Attraction, Malcolm Bivens, Odyssey Jones, and heck, even throwing away Barrett there who's on commentary. Put him in the video game. And you could also add in NXT 2.0 Arena. I know the community creators out there have done a great job of trying to put the NXT 2.0 Arena together, but it would have been really cool if 2K really tried to push things forward and give us a NXT 2.0 pack, or an additional DLC pack to come at a later date beyond the 5 that are already announced. I understand, this is a long shot here, because if history has told us anything, they're not likely to change anything in the future. And is it expensive for the content that we're getting? For 28 superstars in Canadian dollars, it's running at like $50 plus tax. If you're buying it by yourself, unless you got it in the deluxe or the NWO edition, it's like $1-ish, $1.50 a superstar. So arguably, there is good value there. You're not paying a tremendous amount for all of these superstars, even if you break it down individually. But it feels like the standard pattern with 2K of, here are superstars that have been in previous years, and we're gonna shoehorn them in as paid content and put them behind the paywall. The one head scratcher I do have is Amos. Not having Amos in the game, even Commander Aziz as well, I'll throw him in there, because they have been on the WWE roster through Thunderdome. Heck, Amos was even in Raw Underground when that was a thing with Shane McMahon. Stars like Amos have been around a long time, and I think that is a little cheap, putting him in DLC that we're all waiting for. Now, Amos is coming out in the first round of DLC, April 26th, in the Bonsai pack, along with Cassie, Rikishi, Umaga, and Yokozuna. And that pack right there, I think is really cool, but I think Amos should have been in the game. Cassie, great, but I wish that there was a all women's DLC pack, Legends pack of women, giving us Alicia Fox, throw Cassie in there if you want to add more women, Toxic Attraction, the Bellas, Lita. We could have done a lot here when it comes to even the women's representation in the DLC. And maybe it's just the way they've designed it and laid them out. Some of them make sense for the packs, but I think not having an NXT pack and not having a all women's DLC pack, I think that's a miss. You could have taken a lot of these women and put them in their own respective DLC pack and made it really, really cool. You could have given us a Future Stars pack and a Legends pack of the women, and particularly the likes of not having Lita in the game, I think is a very, very big missed opportunity. I think not having Kurt Angle in the game is a missed opportunity. If you couldn't work out the contract situation with him, I think that's a big bummer. And I think you should be trying, if you're 2K, to try and get those things to happen for your game, especially when you want to give it longevity. Longevity is a big piece of all of this, in my opinion. July 19th is the whole damn pack, is the final round of DLC that we will get. Should we assume that 2K23 is going to come out in October? I highly doubt it. There's no word of it yet. It's early, they want to focus on this game, I understand that, but I am already raising my hand asking, when is the next game going to come out? Are there plans to launch one this year? And if they do, you gotta figure that that is much more of a 2K22.5 edition of the game. And fans might get upset that if they're going to get 2K23 sooner rather than later, it's probably gonna make them feel like the DLC and the season pass of this year's game is a bit of a waste. And I say that because so many of those stars would more than likely be in the next year's game. And I know that's always kind of a thing, right? But we're dealing with a weird calendar and a weird release time of this year's game. And if 2K doesn't release the next video game for 2K23 or whatever they'll call it until next year's WrestleMania around the exact same time as this game, I'm okay with that release window. However, with the last bit of content coming out in July, that is a drought. That is a long drought of no content and nothing else for players to experience, to get their hands on. I know for players like me, I would want more. I would want something coming out in the fall to keep me hyped, to keep me engaged with the game. And having nothing there from the months of August all the way through to potentially the next year into March is a long time to not get any updates and future content. That's why I still hold out some hope and I stay optimistic out here with the hopes of maybe another NXT pack or Cody Rhodes being added in as future content. I think 2K has an opportunity to make things hit different, as they always like to say, by changing up the formula. Not changing up the formula for this year's game for the season pass, I feel is a mistake. They could have gone in different directions. You could have released seasons. I've said this on the show previously if you guys are regulars, but I really do believe with WWE, with the way contracts work out nowadays, the way we see the industry shifting in wrestling, where stars are having 3 years, 5 years with WWE, now going to AEW, or vice versa, and the likes of Cody Rhodes coming back to WWE. You want to see them represented. You want them in the games and supercards and all of this marketing and merch and all this stuff. And that's why I feel a live service model for 2K is a strong idea and can work nowadays. They always want to talk about the game hitting different, and I think that doing traditional DLC content drops is a mistake. They could have changed it up completely by having much more of a seasons and having passes going along throughout the year. I think that's less pressure on them to have to push out all of these stars, for players to have to drop huge dollars right away to pick up a $50 season pass if they want it, or if they only want a couple of superstars. They can't cherry pick who they want. I understand 2K wanting to make their money, but I can make a decent argument that you probably get more fans and more players to buy all of the additional content if you did it throughout seasons and it came in at maybe even a lesser dollar or two. But I need to know what all of you think. Is the season pass worth it? Is the DLC content and the packs in here as a whole, is it worth it to you? And if you guys enjoy this episode and having conversations around the likes of Cody Rhodes potentially being DLC content, check out this episode right here because we talk about Cody Rhodes potentially being future added DLC. See you on the next episode.